Hello, Taylor Elwood here, and welcome to the Mature Masculinity Podcast. In this episode, we're exploring the question of, are you living your life for the right person? And what do I mean by that? Well, this is a tough question to ask, and it's an even tougher question to answer. If you're a nice guy, basically a codependent people pleaser, you're not living your life for the right person. If you're a recovering nice guy, then you definitely know what I'm talking about, because you've made the mistake that so many of us have made, where we've said, here's this person we're in a relationship with, and they are the most important person in our lives, and we'll do anything to please them, and then here's me. And my needs and wants and desires aren't important, but this other person's needs, wants, and desires are important. There's a really fascinating book called The Passion Trap, which I highly recommend reading, which talks about this phenomenon, and it basically describes the person that's being pedestaled as the one-up. This is the person who has control of the relationship. They may not want to have control, but they do. And then the one down, and this is the codependent people pleaser. The one up basically is falling out of love with the one down, pushes them away, doesn't want to be with them because because the one down is obsessed with the other person. They are trying to connect with them in a meaningful way, and it's really hard to do. The one up is the person who is basically being pedestaled. Their needs, wants, and desires are being attended to, while the one down, their needs, wants, and desires aren't being attended to. And if you're familiar with this kind of situation, you know what it feels like, and you know that it sucks. It's not a fun situation. It's in fact a very harmful situation. It sucks because the fact of the matter is you're in a situation where you're not really loved or valued or appreciated. And you're giving your all. You're giving everything to the relationship. And the other person doesn't seem to be giving much to the relationship. And they may not really even care. And the thing we have to keep in mind with this kind of dynamic is that the people pleaser is operating from the wrong place. They're being needy. They're trying to get their needs met, but they're doing it in a way where they're putting all their needs on the one up. And the one up, the person being pedestal, doesn't want that. And understandably so. No one wants to be put in a situation where they're responsible for satisfying the needs of someone else. In fact, as one person put it to me one time, who I was in a relationship with, where they were definitely the one up and I was the one down, is they said, it's not my responsibility to satisfy your needs. And that person was right. It wasn't their responsibility to satisfy my needs. But I was putting my needs onto them. There were other issues there. But what stood out to me is that in the end, what I came to realize is that I didn't want to be with a person who didn't care about my needs and wants and desires. I was speaking up for them more than I ever had before, but I realized that, this person, I was still people pleasing. I was still putting this person's needs and wants and desires above my own. I was still doing everything I could to please them and make them happy, but the thing is I wasn't really making them happy. Because what's interesting is when you people please, it may seem like you're I'm making this person the center of my world, but that person doesn't want to be the center of your world. They're already the center of their world. And I will say most people, everyone is self-interested to some degree or another. So even the people pleaser is self-interested. It's just that they're operating from a place of, I need to get approval from this other person, so I will do whatever it takes, and hopefully they'll meet my needs and wants and desires. Hopefully they'll want to do that. But the thing is that if you're the person who's in the one-up position, you're not going to want to do that. You're going to be more and more distant because you're going to feel all that pressure, and you're going to push back. So this question of, are you living your life for the right person, really boils down to, are you living your life for yourself? That's the right answer. Are you living your life for you? Do you have friends and activities and things that you're doing where you're operating and taking care of yourself? And the person who happens to be in your life, they might be an important part of your life. Hopefully they are, but they're not the central part of your life. Like if they for whatever reason end up leaving your life, it's not like you're going to be losing out on anything. This is healthy relationship. It's interdependent relationship where there can be some reciprocality going back and forth. Like I meet your needs and you meet my needs, and we agree that we want to meet our respective needs together. in a way where we're not being codependent and needy. And sometimes, we're going out and we're doing our own things, or we're getting together with our friends, or we're doing other activities, and sometimes we're doing stuff together, but we're not spending all of our time together. When you make somebody else the center of your life, chances are the focus is going to be, I got to spend all my spare time with this person, and that's really unhealthy. It creates a very unhealthy dynamic. It's a codependent dynamic where each person is kind of in a situation where there's not enough space given. And granted, you both might be working at jobs. You might both have other things going on, but that's still what the case is. The example that I mentioned for my life, the person I was with at the time, we both had jobs. We both had friends that we did things with. We didn't spend all of our time together. Nonetheless, I was centering that person. I was putting that person's wants and needs and their dreams above my own, instead of really operating from a place of authenticity and integrity where I was honoring myself. And it was detrimental. It was detrimental to the relationship. It was also detrimental to the overall healthiness of the relationship. Physically, it was detrimental, but just because it was kind of exhausting. Emotionally, it was exhausting and draining. Mentally, spiritually, it became one of those cases where, when I look back on it now, I'm kind of like, oh, this was a really unhealthy example of a relationship, because here I was putting this person above my own interest, and I was sacrificing myself in favor of this person, which is absolutely the last thing you want to be doing. So it's really important to recognize this and realize that sometimes you're going to be in a situation where you're pedestaling someone. You're putting them above yourself. And if you're doing that, that means that you're living your life for them. And inevitably, that relationship will end. Healthy relationships are one where each person is taking care of themselves. And they may mutually agree to take care of each other, but they do it from a place of informed awareness. And if there isn't a good fit, then either they probably should break up, or they should open the relationship up, or what have you. And in some cases, you can be in an open relationship. Like I was in an open relationship in this case, but the person I was with wanted to foist me off on other people. And possibly some of that was because of how codependent and needy I was. Possibly some of it was also just because that person really just didn't want to connect that way. But for me, that was a mismatch in terms of values and everything else. So when the relationship didn't work out, it wasn't surprising to me. And yet at the same time, when I really took a look at the whole situation, I realized here I had pedestaled this person in some ways. I had made everything about them more important than me. And in the process, I'd lost respect for myself, and that person lost respect for me because they knew they could walk all over me. And when you know that you can walk all over somebody, it means that you're not going to consider their needs and wants and desires in that high of an esteem, because as far as you're concerned, like you don't even know for sure if this person is accurate in terms of their needs, wants, and desires, but more importantly, like they're not really the person you want to be with. And that was what I ended up finding. This person had never really wanted to be with me. I mean, I think the thing that was a really good indicator was when that person said, the first time we kissed, I didn't feel anything. Well, that was probably a good example. But here, I felt a lot of things, and I pedestaled that person and made them more important. And like I said, came at a significant cost. So look to your own life. What's more important to you? Who's more important to you? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you loving yourself? Are you respecting yourself? Are you setting good boundaries where, you might be with this person, but you're acknowledging when they might be overstepping your boundaries, or that where you might be saying, like, I need to set time aside for these activities or things like that. Or you might even say, like, look, I value and respect your dreams, and I will be supportive, but I'm not going to support it at the cost of my own. These are important questions to ask ourselves and to really take in and consider, because that way we're not putting ourselves into a situation where we're essentially getting taken advantage of. You don't want to be taken advantage of, because it's not a good feeling, and it takes some time to heal from on many different levels. So that's the podcast for today. I hope you found it helpful, and thank you for watching. Take care.